Hey everybody, this is Matt with Virginia Wrestling. We got a special opportunity today to talk to Coach Mark Fontana. He's the cadet director for Virginia USA Wrestling. And even better yet, we get to talk about what the cadet team just did in Indiana. So Coach Fontana, thanks for joining us.
No, absolutely. And happy Friday.
Happy Friday. So last Friday, you guys were not traveling, you were in Indiana. And kind of tell us what happened there.
Uh Man, it was my first time going last year. Obviously, COVID happened. Basically we had a bunch of parents drive their kids out to Indiana. I had a van, I drove some kids out to Indiana, 10-hour drive. We weighed in and then started competing Greco in the morning.
So Greco was first. Kind of tell us, I know we went 6-2 as a team, so maybe bring us a little recap on how that happened.
The team, we wrestled tough. It was a little unfortunate. We had two forfeits and a big national tournament that's tough to come back from. But with that being said, in both our first two matches, we had the opportunities to win. And dual meet wrestling, it comes down to you get a pin when you shouldn't have gotten pin. You get a pin when you didn't think you would get a pin, or you get bonus points. You win a match where you didn't think you were going to win, or you thought you were going to win and you get upset. Basically, it started off, I think we were in Pool B. We lost in the last bout to Oklahoma Red. Good back and forth bout. I think that was a tough one to start off with. For first time getting our feet wet. I thought some kids performed well right off the bat, and I thought others were like, "Oh man, this is a big tournament." But lost in the last bout there. I think one of them was 2 points, the other one was 4. But either way, it came down to the last bout. And then after that, our next match was against Iowa. Another bout, back and forth. We lost in the last bout again. It's kind of ironic that our first two matchups against Team Oklahoma Red and Iowa are the two states where they have two of the most storied programs, with Iowa and Oklahoma State. So then in our, I think it was 7th place match, we wrestled Indiana Blue and we competed well. We won that one. It put us into the green pool. In the green pool, I can't remember what our first one was.
Looks like it was Team Georgia Red.
Yeah, it was Georgia Red. I mean, Georgia is an up and coming state. They went from not having not many Division I athletes in wrestling to they have multiple ones. They were able to bring two teams out. So we did what we needed to do against Georgia Red. I thought we were I think we have a very talented team. It's unfortunate how crazy this sport is. You lose close matches and you're in a pool where you think you shouldn't be in, but you're there anyway. When you're in there, though, it's how do you win these matches? If we say, oh, we're so much better than these teams and we're only winning by a little bit, then, maybe we deserve to be there. But I think we had a good bout against Georgia Red, won a lot of matches. I think the next one was the next one Utah, or was the next one?
Let's see. So we had Georgia Red and then Pennsylvania Red.
Pennsylvania Red. Yeah, that's right. Pennsylvania Red. They brought two teams. Pennsylvania, they have the most All-Americans each year. It was good to get that. Good to get that win. You love to see it. Actually, coming back, we were at a truck stop in Pennsylvania, and the one lady's like, "You guys coming back from the wrestling?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're coming back from wrestling." She goes, "My son wrestles." I was like, "Pennsylvania Red or Blue?" She goes, "Pennsylvania Red." So, you're 7 hours into your drive and you have a conversation with a parent whose son was wrestling. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, Pennsylvania Red, that ended off our first day. Then the second day we had Team Utah, who was in a similar situation to us. 2 forfeits, lost couple close matches. And in that bout, there were some good individual matchups. Off the top of my head, Kingsley Menifee had a tough match. Kingsley was a hammer for us this past week. And I think Mitchell Faglione, I think that's the one. He won 1-1 on criteria. He gave up the first passive points. We talked to him during the break, came out, another passive on the other guy, and he wrestled a great Greco match. I think Coach Prebish at St. Chris would be very happy with that result. Some things to work on, but you get a 1-1 match against a kid who went undefeated in Greco. I was undefeated in Greco up to that point. You love to see that. And then after that, uh, Team Delaware, like their coach and staff, we were able to get a bunch of wins there, build the kids' confidence. Was there one more, or was that
It
the
was
sixth?
Michigan Red.
And that Michigan Red was in a similar situation with Georgia Red. Their second team, they had I think 3 or 4 forfeits, but we went out there and did what we needed to do. So finished off Greco 6-2. You get 8 matches in 2 days. That's something you love to see. And yeah, it was a good. I wouldn't say it was great with Greco. I'll say it was good. I think there was a lot of positives, and over the next couple of weeks, hopefully we taper some things, fix some things up, so they could have more success in Fargo.
So what's amazing and what's awesome to look at is the first 2 matches in the tournament itself, the pool, the quarterfinal against Oklahoma, 38-36. We gave up 2 weights. I mean, that plays a huge role, like you're saying. And then again against Iowa, 41-37. That's I believe those are great scores for us, being where we were, in the past years. As far as preparation leading into the Greco, what do you think Virginia did well, and what do you think we can work on leading into a Greco tournament or duels like this?
I think with Greco, it was big because with the COVID year too, there was only like 2, maybe 3 tournaments. Yeah, there was 3 tournaments in the state of Virginia. So a lot of these kids were wrestling Greco, and we didn't get hit with many head down blocking calls. I'll tell you what, we had some beautiful 5-point moves, and Parker Farrell and Kingsley Menifee up top are going for 5s, and then Noah Ninninger's getting some 5. Everybody's getting these 5-point throws, but just a lot of discipline in our hand fight, couple arm drags, getting out of those 50-50 positions. Up to that, we had the training camp at top where we went freestyle and Greco, and I think one thing that stood out to me was the kids at camp who were really focused during the parterre position, because sometimes that's tough, especially parterre defense. There was some kids that were really trying to turn us, and we had good parterre defense, and instead of giving up points and giving up 2s and 4s, we're being brought back to our feet. The active defense on the bottom was something I, as a coach, like to see, because that was something that was stressed and something that coaches at the clinic got on the kids about, and they made the adjustments and did a good job. Hopefully that continues on.
Awesome. So I know Coach Prebish should be proud. I know I'm proud because I'm a Greco guy too. Like I'm proud to see that our kids are actually, using the techniques, being active there, and being in the fight. So that was Greco. I mean, I think that's an outstanding overall job, 6-2. For the Greco team. I know we talked about and we said, can't, like, different teams, Pennsylvania Red. Do you think Virginia might be at that point at one point to start taking a red and blue team?
We were close. We tried to. They told me at the Virginia Freestyle and Greco States, like, we're gonna bring 2 teams. I'm like, all right, it's my first time making one, but we'll try 2. And we had like half a team, but then it just it wasn't in the cards. But I'll say this, looking at some of these teams who are bringing 2 teams, I learned a lot from this past weekend. And bringing 2 teams or bringing a ton of alternates to start, as we start and continue to get better as a state, entering that gold pool. I mean, if we're doing both Greco and freestyle, our kids wrestled 16 matches in 4 days. So some of those teams that were in the finals are doing very well. They got extra kids and they're able to give their kid a break here and there. But it speaks to our kids that they all wrestled 16 matches, in both styles. But as it goes on, and as the overall growth of the state continues, I would love to bring an A and B team or first and second team, or even there was a couple kids who one in Greco and the other one in freestyle. Maybe have a Greco guy and a freestyle guy, just stuff for down the road as we play around. It's good to talk about this as we start to get better as a state.
So that's Greco, and then let's move into freestyle. Freestyle took place afterwards. Walk us through our freestyle.
Yeah, freestyle. We were able to only have one forfeit. We had a young athlete, Caden Smith. Him and his dad made sacrifice. Drove out to Indiana. Found out there was an opening, so came wrestled our 100-pound spot. That's something where that's kind of the wrestling part will come, but that's hey, there's an opening. We need you. Do you want to come? When it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go and compete in this national level tournament. So we were only forfeiting one weight. Our first match could have been devastating, but we lost by 1 point to Team Colorado. Some matches could have went some different ways. On the coaching side, we could have done better with a couple things, but we lost by 1 to Colorado, who's another state, Colorado, Georgia, that you didn't hear about them 10, 20 years ago. And now there's a couple clubs out there. I know the Mile High Wrestling Club out there has 2 Cornell alums that coach it, and they're starting to get D1 guys. So we lost by 1 to Team Colorado. Tough back and forth bout. I thought some of our guys wrestled up in skill level. I thought others could have wrestled better, but dual meet wrestling. Then our next bout was against Kansas Red. That was our biggest victory there. We came out, we wrestled well. It saved us from being in the green pool like we were in Greco. Then our next match against Team Missouri. I mean, you look at Missouri wrestling. They have 2 or 3 teams that are constantly ranked 5, and that was a back and forth duel. There was some good wrestling. The bout came down to 94 pounds, and the 94 pounder from Missouri is so good, but our 94 pounder, kid by the name of Cadell wrestled awesome. Like, this was supposed to be a close bout, and he came out. He's a gamer. He went, took the kid down, took him down again, and then he stuck him, and that gave us the victory. Then we're in the 3rd place match in our pool against Indiana Gold. Back and forth bout, comes down to the last bout. We lose, so we take 4th in our pool, but that got us into the bronze copper pool. Wrestled Team Florida, another back and forth bout. A couple challenges here and there. Came down to the last bout and lost by 1. I mean, we lost 5 bouts overall. Each came down to 1 bout. So we're being super competitive in these matches. That finished up day 1. And then on day 2, we had a rematch with Team Iowa. And I thought that was our best match. At the time, we wrestled well. We beat Team Iowa. They had a couple kids who had good records, and our good kids were able to beat their good kids. After Team Iowa, I think we wrestled Indiana Blue again. Yeah, wrestled Indiana Blue. We beat Indiana Blue in both styles. That was good to see. And then in our 3rd place match, we had a rematch against Team Colorado. Is there anyone I'm missing on there? I think I got them all the matches.
Indiana Blue, Colorado, yeah.
Wrestled Team Colorado again. We had one kid who had an injury, and then we bumped our lineups around, and basically it speaks to the kids, because it's our 16th match. It's their 16th match, and the grit our kids showed was phenomenal. You look at the match. I think it started at 120 or 126. No, I lied. It started at 138, because fast. The 8-pound match, Ezekiel Keel lost the kid first day. He goes out there, he hits a headlock, and he was not letting that boy get off his back, nor should he. So that was then it comes to 132. Mitchell Faglione's wrestling, and he had lost to the kid earlier, and he's wrestling. He's not wrestling bad. It's just the kid's beating us in a couple positions. We're down 6-0. We get a point 6-2, and it's like, all right. as long as you don't get pinned, we're going to win the duel. But why don't you try to win this match? He was extremely coachable. Goes, gets a couple shout out to George Mason coach Frank Beasley. He went over this one single leg tilt, little hip tip tilt, and we hit that like 3-4 times in a row. And all of a sudden we're down 6-2, and now we're up. I don't remember. I think the final score was 12-9, 13-9. But this kid's like, dude, I was on my way to an easy victory, and now you're losing. And Faglione, to go back to Greco as well, he had a crazy match against Team Iowa where he was down 9-0, and at the break it was 10-9, and they were putting up football scores in a Greco match. If any of you get a chance to see it on Track Wrestling, especially if you're a no leg wrestler, go Greco person, it was a back and forth match. I got confused on the score, and it ended up he won 2014. And the last exchange he was winning, and then last exchange 2014, I go to the table. They're like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "Is that score right?" They're like, "Yeah." "Do you still want a challenge?" I'm like, "No, we're good." And shout out to him. But that match against Team Colorado, all our kids wrestled hard and able to get a couple revenge victories in freestyle. I think overall we finished third in the bronze copper pool. So I think that made us like 11 out of 33, 36 teams, like right on the cusp of gold pool.
That's awesome, because I know that in the past, we haven't really taken teams to the cadets. So being able to get there, get our Virginia kids into these matches, and I mean, I think, and what I've been looking at and what I've watched, you guys as coaches, the kids did an amazing job. You guys as coaches did an amazing job trying to make sure everything stays right. Congratulations to you guys and to all the Team Virginia kids.
Yeah.
So now that we're done with the duels, and I know the junior duels are this year, are happening right now or this weekend. But do we get to look forward to, some of these kids going up? The 14U team, I know they did really well. What do you think future-wise is going on for Virginia wrestling here?
Future-wise, I was lucky. There was a good amount of college coaches there too, and talking to a couple of the other teams that I knew people from. I think the future of Virginia is looking good. I think our top level kids coming up, the 8th, 9th graders, I think they're a really talented bunch. They were great kids to be around. The future of Virginia too is mixed in with our group is our kind of grassroots level kids, our kids who started doing it in middle school or maybe started as freshmen. Is we keep our good kids or our national level kids, our kids who are at that level, we keep getting them good, but then we got to get that second tier. We got to get that level up, just not be like, oh, well, we got, I mean, we had this weekend, I'll give some names in a little bit, but we had three kids go undefeated and one kid have 1 loss and another kid have 2 losses. So that's like 4 or 5 hammers right there. We get a couple of our kids who are on that team who might have had some rough weekends. We build them up. By the time this group is in, a bunch of them will be juniors next year, but they'll be young juniors. If this group and the 14U group is able to stay together, challenge each other, challenge themselves, and also coaching wise as a state, the middle school, high school coaches, we get more kids out that enjoy the sport and get them to these camps and clinics we've been having. I think there's some good things in the state of Virginia coming up.
Awesome. So let's see if you had to, you say some names. So who's our standouts? Tell me who we got.
I'll go through weight classes actually, if that's, because I don't want to forget anybody, because they were just very respectable kids too, a great bunch of kids. At 88, I'll start with he was our only alternate kid by the name of Zayden Wynn. He trains at Blue Ridge Wrestling Club, I think. I'm pretty positive. He went 3-1 in Greco. He didn't get any actual competition in freestyle, but he wrestled a bunch of freestyle exhibitions. So for him, going into 9th grade, first time he's at some of these national level at a big national level tournament like that, I thought the experience for him was good. Ezekiel Keel, sadly, when we were in Greenpool, he got a bunch of forfeits, but he went 6-1 overall. He went 2-1 in matches in Greco, and he doesn't really like the Greco that much. Well, not yet, at least. So to see him compete and win some matches, sometimes that's what you need. And then in freestyle, he went 5-3, wrestled tough, didn't give up, went out there, competed, and went over Colorado at 94 pounds. Cadell Lee, he went 8-0 in Greco and 8-0 in freestyle. I think he was one of 3 kids at that weight, according to Rockfin, to go undefeated. I mean, kid's a gamer. He went out there. If he gave up a point, that just made him mad, and then he got takedowns. And like it was almost like when a kid scored on him, it was like, oh, why'd you do that? You just made him mad now. Like he would have been better off just at 100. Caden Smith came out, he scored a couple points. He's wrestling up a weight class too. You know, you're sitting on your couch thinking, oh, I'm just gonna hang out end of the school year. And then you're out there competing against some of the best talent. He saved us a couple points in duels. He likes the sport. He does some things that are good. He does some things he needs work on. But again, the fact he came out there was huge. 106, Noah Ninninger. He went 8-0 in both styles, Greco and freestyle. Tech falled everybody. Hardworking kid. He's invested. He's into it. Really gets to attacks quick, finishes them quick. Actually, I had 8 challenges over the weekend. I was 6-8 in challenges. One of them against Florida was one of the ones I lost. But the great thing about cadet duels too is like a couple of kids were out. There was a Chick-fil-A, Chipotle right next to each other. So I Chipotle ordering, and a couple of Florida kids go. They're like, "Hey, coach," look, I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Hey, we thought you should have won that challenge. We didn't think that was 2 for our kid." I'm like, "Oh, well, thanks, but that's what it is." And then we just wrestled them in a tough match, and their kids are at Chick-fil-A where they're talking. It's good stuff. But Ninja, really talented kid, hardworking. Can't say enough good. 113, Jack Parker. Jack Parker was a kid. He's a 106 pounder. He placed at the cadet level at 106 for our states, and we were having trouble filling the spot. He came out. One of the things with him, he was extremely coachable. You're coming to this national tournament up a weight class. There's some things we need to work on, but there's other things. His parterre defense was good. There was some matches where like, oh, is he going to get blown out? And he came back scoring points, making his opponents be like, what the heck? Why does this kid keep coming? Another one, Jalil Armstrong. I'll go backwards with him. He had a rough day. He had a up and down freestyle tournament, went 2-6, fought some good kids. I mean, the kid had a giant gash inside his mouth. He had a cut across his face. So the fact that he still wrestled those matches was a great aspect. And he went 7-1 in Greco too. The kid's got some talent. He told me how when we talk about grassroots campaigns and getting kids out, he told me how he came out for wrestling. His 6th grade history teacher was basically like, I need this spot filled. Can you fill this spot? And he told me, I thought that coach would never see me. I thought that like that teacher, I'd never see him again. I saw him like a couple days later, started wrestling, was okay. And then, now here he is on Team Virginia. He won a Virginia freestyle and Greco, or he was 1-1. But I forget what the exact thing was, but he's a Virginia state champion in freestyle, and he's out there wrestling for Team Virginia. And Grassfield wasn't able to have a season this year, so he's been out there competing. I think I saw on Coach Schuler, hashtag Schuler trained. I would like a T-shirt from him at some point if possible, but saw him out at another camp competing, so that's something you love to see. At 126, Phoenix, I'm going to mess up his last name. It's not Ayala, but I'm drawing a blank. But Phoenix went 4-4 in freestyle and 7-1 in Greco. He had a match against the Indiana kid where Indiana Gold and freestyle, they were going back and forth, and he was scoring points, and the Indiana kid was scoring points, and he was scoring points. Phoenix wrestles for Skyline. He was 3rd in the state, then 2nd. I mean, the kid's got tons of upside, and he's a great kid to be around, works hard, smiling all the time. So that's another kid for Team Virginia that over the next year or two, I think he's got a ton of upside and he's already a good wrestler, but I think he could be a great one. 132, Mitchell Faglione. He went 8-0 in Greco. Coach Prebish is going to love to see that. I'm sure he's going to nitpick some of the techniques, but Mitchell did a lot of good stuff. In freestyle, he went 5-3, but one of the matches, and it's not what happens when you lose, it's what happens when you come back. He was He was putting points on the board against Kansas Red kid, gets caught pinned, and it's like, oh crap, what now? Came back, wrestled harder, you know, 16 matches, some barn burners, get that comeback win against the Colorado kid. Wrestled a close match against Team Florida. That match, refs weren't on his side a little bit, but at the same time, there's things we got to do that to change that. But Mitchell, great kid, wrestled really hard, had a good weekend. He's a kid who, over the past couple months, you could see the marked improvement from him, from good middle school wrestler to becoming a really good high school wrestler. Afka, another kid, he went 7-1 in Greco, 6-2 in freestyle. Wrestles for First Colonial High School. Alchemy Wrestling Club. Kid competes. He does some really nice things. You could see he's really focused, really into it. Got on himself in one match, gave up a couple stupid points, but the kid is always in matches, always looking to score points. He's another kid in that kind of, with between Phoenix, Mitchell, and Thomas, those are kids who you can tell how much they've improved, and there's just a upside from them. 145, Duncan Christensen. I've heard the name. It was my first time coaching him. He went 7-1 in Greco and 8-0 in freestyle. The kid just competes. He's got a good game face. He's always moving, always looking to score points. Hustles back to the center. I think he's nationally ranked too, and I could see why. The kid goes out there, he gets along with his teammates, he's coaching on the side. He's good kid, good results. Only one loss over the weekend, and it's something where he's got some potential to do extremely well at Fargo. 152, Keegan Judd. Keegan going reverse order too. He went 2-6 in the freestyle. He went 5-3 in Greco. He had a nice comeback victory in our first match against Oklahoma Outlaws. Keegan's a kid who think this might be his first time wrestling freestyle in Greco, and the kid, he learned some things. He's going against good competition. He competes till the end of the whistle. There was some ups and downs, but each match, as the match went on, and you're like, oh, Keegan, what are you doing, man? Then he goes out there and he'll score 2 points and get a gut or get a 4-point move, and you're like, all right, Keegan, let's go. He's another kid I got to talk to a good amount over the week. He's at a 4A school, Shenando. I coached at Spotsylvania, so I saw him 2 years ago. Sadly, they weren't able to have a season, so it's like, I get to put. I've seen the kid wrestle in folk style, and I've seen him in freestyle Greco, but you get to know a little bit about him personally, which is also pretty cool. Robert Kucharik, going to be a freshman. He went 5-3 in Greco. He went 3-5 in freestyle. Kid found out a couple days before, hey, you're not going to be an alternate. You're going to be in there. Does some really nice things. I think he's going to be a cadet next year too. Tons of upside with Robert. He competes to the best of his ability. He's pretty coachable. He's another kid who you're like, he's getting points. You're like, yeah, then he's giving up points. And you're like, no, then he's getting more points. And you're like, yeah, but the kid's always in the match. Our 170, Toby Schofstall. He wrestles 3A at Liberty Christian. He was a state third or runner-up. He was state runner-up. He lost to, we had a conversation about it. Senior from New Kent, Holman. He lost to him in the finals, and kid's got a nice build. He's 6'2", 6'3", went 7-1 in Greco. He went 6-2 in freestyle. The one match he lost, he was winning, and it was injury default. Kid, when Toby gets to his attacks and he comes to his feet and finishes, he's dangerous. He's a kid who, in a couple weeks, if he cleans up some of the technique, he could be a kid who goes deep into that Fargo bracket. And you're like, and he's a kid who you haven't heard much about. You just see the result, but once you see him wrestle, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Next up at 182, Kingsley Duffy. He was a state champ at Fauquier High School this year. He went 7-1 in both styles. Kingsley's into it, man. He's giving you the towel, he's got his water, he's got his routine, he's watching matches, and he's watching matches on another mat, then he's watching a couple other things going on the side. He's out there playing pool on his phone a little bit, and I'm getting ready to get mad at him, but he's watching the match, and I'm about to yell arm spin, he yells arm spin. He's a kid who he competes. He goes out there. He's got all the lanyards. He fully enjoys competing, and that's a kid who he's another kid who could do well at Fargo. He had a bunch of 5-point throws. It was great to see. We didn't have a 195 pounder. I'm gonna go in reverse. I'm gonna go to a kid from gonna be at Culpeper High School. We didn't have a heavyweight. Big shout out to Coach Santos, Coach Keel for talking to this kid, Jason Young, undersized, about 215 pounds, wrestling heavyweight. In freestyle, he went 1-7. And Greg 5 had a nice win against a kid from Georgia Red. He's a kid, grassroots kid, started wrestling in 7th grade. Hopefully he keeps at it, keeps training. In a couple years, we're talking about, remember when he went to cadet duels and didn't do so well, but he was there, and like, look at him now. And last one. So we had Duncan Christensen had 1 loss the whole weekend. Kingsley Menifee had 2 losses. So 14-2. That's a pretty good weekend. And then you had Noah Ninninger, who went undefeated, Cadell Lee, and the last one to go undefeated was Parker Farrell. Parker Farrell in Greco is 8-0. I mean, he's a tall kid, great kid to talk to. He's out here hitting 5-point moves, 5-point moves. And in Greco, he wasn't really challenged. When we got to freestyle, he went out there, had a good match against the Iowa kid, had a real close match against Team Missouri, wrestled hard, scored a push out, got the 2-1 win. I think that kid only had 1 loss the whole weekend, and it was to Parker Farrell from he's at Christiansburg High School. I think he took 3rd as a freshman. That's a kid who you look at him and you're like, okay, I think this kid's good, but I don't know. And he's seasoned. He has some tricks that he does. So not only is he a good wrestler, not only does he attack, but he has some tricks too, where he'll wrestle guys and they'll think, oh, I'm good. And then all of a sudden you're being thrown, or you're getting taken down, or you're getting headlocked, and you're like, what the heck just happened? But individual wise, that's the up and down for Team Virginia at Cadets. I wanted to give them all an individual shout out, because as much as this is a team sport, there's individuals as well, and they perform so well. I don't want to forget anybody.
Awesome. And it is extremely exciting to watch and to see these young kids coming up, grassroots. I mean, if you go back to Duncan, Duncan was I believe he was a Greco and freestyle 14U national champion. So like,
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, these kids are coming up, and it's going to be exciting for us here in Virginia, watching them level up, and maybe one day, knock on wood, we got some Virginia Olympians out there. So that would be an amazing thing. As far as the duels overall, seems like it was a really great time, great opportunity for all of our kids. And, I think in general, like I said, it's a massive congratulations out to you as our cadet director, you as one of our cadet team coaches, and to all of our kids that have participated in this. And I know you're heavily involved with the grassroots. So, that is a huge, huge thing to have a lot of coaches now really, really, really going after, getting these wrestlers out, getting them to try new things, so I want to thank you for that. As far as, moving into Fargo, I think you have a few minutes left here on this recording, but as far as moving forward to Fargo, how excited are you? Do you have any massive predictions, or, just say maybe some shout outs or some training camp shout outs that you want to talk about?
Man, with Fargo, I can't really make any predictions. It's like at cadet duels. I wanted to. I was going to say like at top, I'm like, I think we're going to do really well. And I think we did do well. with Fargo, it depends on the kids. It depends on their mindset. The Cadet Duels was a great tournament to go out for because you're wrestling 16 matches in 4 days, and there's some ups and downs. You might get a kid who shoots right off the whistle, and you're not ready, and you're down 6-0. And how are you going to prepare for that? Or you might be up early, and this kid's coming back at you, trying to throw you the whole time. Cadet wise, I think I think we'll be all right. I think they're going to go out there. Some of them I already see are training. I believe there's a training camp July 10th and 11th. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah, I would suggest for the kids to go to that because there was a couple of things from this training camp. I mean, you have George Mason coach come in, show some moves, and it was all high quality stuff. Some of them we were using in matches at a high level. Training wise, it is now July 18th, maybe July 19th when this comes out. Fargo, June. I'm sorry, it's June 18th, 19th. July is July 6th or 15th to 23rd. So there's about 3 weeks left. There's a lot of physical training, but also there's a lot of mental training too. You got to start speaking positive of yourself. You got to be ready for just everything. There might be a kid from a state you never heard of. There might be a kid from Maine and he ends up being pretty good. And you're like, oh, who's this kid from Maine? And years later, the kid's wrestling the D1 commit. Fargo's a coming out party for a lot of people, especially with the COVID year. Some states didn't have state tournaments, or they had like a laissez-faire state, or some were only allowed a certain amount of qualifiers, and you don't know who the kid is, and you're looking up his track wrestling profile. And it's like, my for our kids in Virginia is to go out there, just wrestle and have fun. You do this because it's fun. You do it because you like to win. Do it to get better and grow. So if you're out there and you're having fun and enjoying the process, don't get so much caught up in the result, but get caught up in the process. If you're doing all the right things, you're going to practice, you're eating well, you're rehabbing well, you're talking to your coaches, you're doing a positive mindset, we'll do fine out there. And there's good coaches around the state. We're all working together a little bit more, which is something that's needed. And I'm excited for the kids to go to Fargo. I'm excited for after Fargo because Fargo is not in the nicest way possible, but Fargo is not a life or death tournament. At the end, go out there at Fargo, you do well, you're a Fargo champ, you're a Fargo All-American. You don't do well, it's not the end of the world. It's okay. I need to work on some things. And even if you do become a Fargo champ and All-American, it's like, still got to improve. So basically, I'm excited for our kids. I'm excited for them to get the opportunity to compete in Fargo because they didn't last year, and excited for the state of Virginia.
Awesome. So again, I'd like to thank you, Coach, for giving us some of your time tonight, talking about the Cadet Duels and talking about the path that Virginia wrestling is going to be on for the next few years. So thank you again for being with us. And, closing comments.
Closing comments, but before I forget, I'm not sure if I gave them a shout out, but big shout out to the parents as well. Parents, kids, it's not an easy trip to go to. But they came, they were supportive of their kids. They were positive. You love to see the positive influence. So I'd like to thank VAWA, the parents, the kids, the coaches, just anybody putting time into these young adults and their future growth. And, as much as I've said some positive stuff with Fargo, it's also, let's go out there and let's compete to the best of our ability. And if we do that, we'll collect some hardware.
Awesome. Again, thanks, Coach. Have a great night.
Yep, right back at you.